So you are happy with the quantity of sugar that comes with the basic coffee. You don't want to change that. But there is a method called add flavor. So for cappuccino, you would like to change the definition of add flavor. So you would like to add some extra flavor to that cappuccino. So you will change the implementation. When I say change the implementation, basically you will whatever logic is written in the add flavor method in the parent class, you are actually overriding it. So you do not have to write this add milk and add sugar again in the cappuccino class because it has inherited as it is from the parent class. So you are able to reuse those functionalities. Does it make sense? Okay. So now, if you are not happy with the add flavor method, you how do we say mocha? So mocha will also have add milk, but let's say mocha is quite a little bit more bitter in taste. So we are not happy with the default sugar that comes with mocha. So I would like to modify the add sugar method. So maybe I will say add 1 extra teaspoon of sugar, and definitely the mocha will have a different flavor with the basic coffee. So you will modify the add flavor method as well. So now again, in order to write that mocha coffee, you did not have to write that add milk method. So you are able to reuse the method which comes from the parent class. So you have inherited all the methods, add milk, add sugar, add flavor from the parent class. So whatever methods you are happy with the default implementation, you were able to use as it is. And the methods which you are not happy with the default implementation, you change it. You change it as per your requirement. So this is called method overriding. I hope it makes sense. So what is the advantage of inheritance? The advantage of inheritance is code reusability. And we will understand in more detail what is exactly method overriding. There is a whole chapter on that. So, but for the time being, just to introduce the concept, this basic fundamental should be good enough. So, what is polymorphism? Method overriding. Method overriding always comes into picture wherever you have 2 classes, one parent class and one child class, and there has to be a relationship between the 2 classes, and that relationship has to be is a relationship, parent-child relationship. I'll talk about what is relationship. So if you see that, can we use the word? Can we say that mocha is a coffee? We can say that cappuccino also is a coffee. So mocha is a coffee, cappuccino, that means every mocha will be a coffee always. Mocha will not be a cold drink. Mocha will always be a coffee. Or cappuccino will always be a coffee. So what is the relationship between the parent class and the child class? That relationship is called is a relationship. If I write here, so I'll say, sorry, let me write it here. So this is mocha is a coffee. Similarly, we will say cappuccino is a coffee. But the question is, can we say it the other way around? Is every coffee cappuccino? No. Is every coffee mocha? No. Like if I have a drink class, so drink could be, it could be a soft drink, it could be a hard drink, it could be a, let's say a Bonvita chocolate or anything. So is every drink, is Bonvita a drink? Yes. Is soft drink, is Pepsi a drink? The answer is yes. Is chocolate milk a drink? The answer is yes. But is every drink chocolate? No. Is every drink a soft drink? No. So parent-child relationship. So on the left-hand side, I'm having the child. If you see it carefully, this is the child class and this is the parent class. So you have to understand this is a relationship. So what is the relationship between cappuccino and coffee? So the child will be always on the left-hand side of is a. So we'll say cappuccino is a coffee. I mean, it's logical, no brainer, right? I'm not trying to talk anything technical, but you have to just understand that what is the relationship. So in parent-child, you will always have the relationship is a relationship. If I say Firefox is a browser, Chrome is a browser, right? Internet Explorer is a browser. So browser will be the parent class and Chrome will be the child class. Browser will be the parent class, Internet Explorer will be the child class. So what will be the relationship? That relationship is called is a relationship. Okay, I hope clear to everyone. So we know that method overriding always comes into picture wherever we have 2 classes, and that those 2 classes must have is a relationship. That is called method overriding. What is method overloading? We said that method overloading means we want to reuse the same method. As I gave the example yesterday, let's say if you work in a loan department, so you will have the same calculate loan rate of interest. Calculate rate of interest could be, you can reuse the same method for home loan, personal loan, car loan. So basically the same, you are actually reusing the same method name, but what all is changing is the argument type. The argument type that you're passing to that method, that is changing. In one case it is personal loan, in another case it could be car loan or a personal loan or a marriage loan or a study loan. So you are reusing the same method name. So this is called method overloading. Okay, clear with that? Next we said encapsulation. So encapsulation is about hiding the data. How do we hide the data? Basically we have attributes and we have some methods that act on those attributes. So methods and attributes, they all are tightly bound to each other. So you have, so as I said, capsule has medicine inside it, tightly bound. Medicine cannot go outside. It is within. So the only way to access that attribute is through public getters and setter methods. So if at all you have to put any security logic, you will put that security logic in that public getters and setter methods. What is the advantage of encapsulation? Let us try to understand what is the advantage of encapsulation. So assume that, I mean, let's say you stay in a flat. So assume that flat is a class. So there are multiple ways to enter into a house. Let's say your balcony is broken. I'm just taking a hypothetical situation. Your door is also broken, or your roof also has a big hole. So how many ways, if at all a thief has to enter? He has 3 ways. I mean, he can enter a house and he can steal something from a house, which you would not like to. That is not a very desirable situation. So you would like to protect all the valuable things from a house. But now just because there are 3 entries to enter a house, if at all you have to secure a house, how many places you have to put security gadgets? The hole which is on the roof, the balcony which is open, and the door which is broken. So you have to put security gadgets at 3 places if at all you have to secure your house. So that is quite expensive. But let us say, if at all you know that the only way to enter your house is through the doorbell, let's say through the door, and that too through that automatic lock. So any thief, if it has to enter your house, he can only enter provided he has access to the lock. I mean, that automatic lock he has, then only he can, let's say he got access to the house keys. That's the only way to enter a house. So if at all you have to put any security gadget, you have to put that security gadget only at one place. Right? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So encapsulation means you have kept your data as private. If you make your data as public, what will happen? Your data can go corrupt in 2 possible ways. You have made your attributes as public. That means anybody who has to access those attributes. Okay, I have been telling you so far that every object will have 2 things. It will have attributes and it will have methods. Methods always act on those attributes. So how do you access any attribute? You use the object name dot attribute. Let's say I have an employee object. So you want to read the salary. So you'll say employee object dot salary. We will see how do we create object. I have not spoken about how do we create object, but just let's assume for the hypothetically that if at all you have to access your attribute. So if your attribute is private, so you'll say employee object dot salary, you will not be able to access it. But if it is public, then you can access those attributes simply using the employee object dot salary. That means basically there are 2 ways to enter your class. Somebody can get hold of those public attributes because it is public. That means anybody can access it. And the other means to access those attributes are using public methods. So let's say if you have a get salary. So that means now your data is vulnerable by using 2 means. One is that data itself is public. So anybody who has access to that data, he can read that data, he can modify that data. Let's say someone doesn't like you. So he can read the salary and he can decrement your salary, he can decrease the salary, or he can make it a negative value. We will look into the code and then I'll try to explain. So all I'm trying to say is if your data is public, so there are 2 ways to read that data. One is the data itself can be read by some other object, and the other way is you can also read the data from public methods. So in this case, if at all you have to worry about the data, there are two possible ways your data can get corrupted. But in the former case where I said that if you keep the attributes as private and expose them only using public methods, so if at all, if you have to put any extra checks or extra validation, the only place you need to worry about is the public methods. So in the public method, you will actually say that, let's say if the role is your manager, then only he can access your data. Your colleague, if the role is your colleague, he should be, say you are not allowed your unauthorized access. So that way you are protecting your data. We will look into the code and I'll try to explain more what exactly encapsulation means. So encapsulation is about actually hiding your data. It gives you more security. Your data becomes more secure. I think you will never, like, let's say if I go to a bank, I say, okay, can I access Mohana's bank account? Can you tell her how much is the salary or how much money she has in her account? So if her data is open, I can actually go and say, okay, Mohana is having, let's say, 5 million pounds. So I know that she has a lot of money. So similarly, I can say how much Naresh is having money. So I can also access Naresh money. So will I ever feel safe about that bank? Because anybody can go and access anybody's data. So I should not be allowed to access data of anyone else. So you would, if at all, it's a banking software, so then it has to be highly secured. So no one else can see anyone else's data. So only I should be allowed to access only my data. I can see only my bank account details. I should not be able to see anyone else's account details. So that's how we where the concept of encapsulation comes into picture. So encapsulation provides you additional security. Make sense? Okay. So now we know what is the four principles of OOPS principle. So always remember, this is a very, very important concept, and we will be seeing these concepts again and again many times with many examples. So today let's start with some basic fundamentals. So every programming language, let's say if I ask you a simple question, are you an automation tester? So what could be the answer? The answer could be yes or no, right? If I say, what is your age? So you're not going to say your age is ABC. You'll always say, okay, I'm 30 years old, or I'm 25 years old, or I'm 40 years old. So you'll always, the answer that you'll give, it will always be in some integer, right? If I ask you, so basically all I'm trying to say is, to store the data, we always need some sort of placeholders. So in the first case, you said, are you an automation tester? So answer is yes or no. So we should have some sort of variables to store that answer yes or no. So it's a Boolean type of data where only two possible options are there, yes or no. If I ask you what is your age, so you gave me an answer in an integer type. You'll not say that your age is ABC, or your age is Kundan, or your age is Naresh. You're going to say, okay, I'm 30. So you'll say 3030. So 3030 is a integer type. If I ask you how much is the distance traveled by light in, let's say, 5 light years, or how many stars are there in galaxy? So are you going to say 1 or 1,000 or 2,000 or 1 million? So whatever answer you'll give, that will be a very, very huge number, right? If I say that, okay, how much was your increment last year? Let's say if you're a permanent. So normally in UK, the increment is just in some points. So the answer will be, I got a 2.5% hike or 3.5% hike. Or if I say, what is the loan rate interest? So loan rate interest, it could be integer, it could be a value with some decimal points. Let's say you'll say the loan rate of interest that I got is 1.6. So the answer is a number which has some decimals. All I'm trying to say is you can have different types of data. You can have a numeric data. You can have a data with some decimals. You can have your answers data in Boolean flag, true or false. So every programming language has defined some data types. So Java also has some defined data types. So let's try to understand what all those data types are there. So I hope this point is clear now. So I'll save this and then we'll move further. So the first data type is byte. Byte is always 1 byte. So 1 byte means 8 bits. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the first data type is 1 byte. So we have basically 4 data types which are numeric type. So byte is also a numeric type. The next data type is short type. So short has 2 bytes. When I say 2 bytes means if at all you want to store some data type which is short, which is of short type, so it will need 2 bytes of memory. So what do I mean by 2 bytes of memory? Basically, yesterday we saw that computer understands machine language, the binary language, only zeros and ones. So if I put all 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 like this, or it could be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So this 8 bits. So 1 byte means always 8 bits. If I say short means 2 bytes, so that means you will have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is 1 byte, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can Google it out. What is the maximum possible value you can store for a short type? But a short data type always needs 2 bytes of memory. Okay, so byte short. Then the next one is int. So int is how much bytes? It is 4 bytes. So if at all you have to store some, let's say, what is your salary or what is your age? So maximum data, a maximum space that an int data type will need is 4 bytes. The next is your float. Byte short int. Sorry, I forgot one, which is char type. So there is also a data type called char. Okay, char type. So char is also 2 bytes. Char is 2 bytes. I'll have to double check. Maybe you can double check in that book. Char is 2 bytes or 1 byte. I don't remember it. Anyways, so char is character data type. So let's say if you have to just use one character, so either A or B or C, something like this. So you can store some character data type. So byte short int char. These are basically I would say a data type which is used to store integer values. So if I say char C is equal to A, I can say that char C is equal to A. Just one character. You cannot write your full name. It will just store one character. Now byte short int char. These are all 4 integer data types. If I say if this is A means this is A. So if I type A on my computer, I told you yesterday that A means it will try to send the equivalent of A, which is 97. So if you type A, internally computer understands this to be the ASCII value of A. Every key that you see on your keyboard, it has an ASCII value. You can call it as a binary equivalent of that key. So that is called ASCII value. So the character A has ASCII value of 97. So whenever you press A, internally computer understands 97, the binary equivalent of 97. So 97 is a number which is in base 10. You can Google it out and convert that into binary. So whenever you say char C is equal to A, ultimately it internally it converts that into 97. So byte short int char is then we have next type is long. So what is long? Long is basically 8 bytes. So why do we use 8 bytes? 8 bytes is a huge memory. So to store very large numbers, as I told you, that distance traveled by light in 5 light years. So we know what is light year. Light year is the distance traveled by light in 1 year. That is called 1 light year. So if I'm saying distance traveled by light in 5 light years, so that will be many billions of meters. That will be a very huge number. So for that, you need a data type which can accommodate that much huge data. So that is called long data type. If I ask you how many characters are there in a book, characters means that will be space, special character, everything. So again, that will be a very large number. If you try to find out the number of characters in a book, that will be a huge number. So that for that also you will have a long data type. So these are all basically, I would say, let's not take this byte as an integer type, short, int, char, and long. So these 4 types are basically integer data types. Byte, it does not come into integer data type. byte is basically used for binary data. Let's say if you have some image, so if you have to send some image, or let's say some audio file or some video file, so you will, if at all you have to transfer that data, so for that you will use byte. Make sense? So byte is always used to store binary data. What is binary data? I mean, all this short, int, char, long, these are numbers which you see, but byte is something which is used for binary data. Then the next one is, so far this short, int, char, and long, these are 4 number types, numeric data types. And the short is 2 bytes, int is 4 bytes, char is also 2 bytes, and long is 8 bytes. Then the next is the number which is used to store decimal points. So we have float. So float is also 4 bytes. So float will always store number in decimal places. So if you want to have, let's say, number which, then the next data type is double. So double means it is for 8 bytes. So float and double both are used to store numbers having decimal places. Why do we have double? Let's say if you have to store the value of pi. What is the value of pi? Mohana, do you know what is the value of pi?
3.14.
Exactly, 3.14. So 3.14 is the approximate value. 3.14 is the approximate value. I mean, it will go like this. Right? If I ask you what is the value of 1 by 3, so 1 by 3 is
3.333.
0.333333. It can go till any level. But if you want to store up to a very high precision number, then you will go for double. If you do not want that very high precision, then you will go for float. So float is 4 bytes, double is 8 bytes. Then we have one more data type called Boolean. So Boolean is just 1 bit. Just 1 bit. Byte is 8 bits, Boolean is just 1 bit.
True or false.
So either true or false. So these are basically 8 data types in Java. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's try to understand a few more things. Okay, so we'll try to understand what exactly is the structure of a program. So we have been talking about objects. I told you what is a class. So class is a specification, and object is a specific instance out of that class, out of that specification. If I say give me an object, so mobile is a class, iPhone is a specific instance of a specific object of that class mobile, book is a class. But if I say certification by Kathy Sierra, it is a specific example of that class. So class will have certificate, which is specification. Class is a specification, and object is actually realization of that specification. So let us see how do we write a class in Java. So before that, I mean, I would like to tell you one more thing. There is a concept of access specifiers in Java. Access specifiers means we are trying to control the visibility, like who all can, basically it's about security, right? So if I develop any software, let's say if I'm developing any software, so I as a Java developer, I will write one class. Let's assume a very simple example. I have written one class which is called, let's say, calculator class. So what will be I have written a calculator class. If at all somebody needs to use calculator, what does he need to do? Let's say if you have written some feature, so I have written a class. So the whole purpose of that class writing, how do I use it? So the only way to use that class is I will create object of that class. And if I'm able to create object of the class, that means I told you that every object has 2 things. It will have the attributes and it will have all the methods. So calculator, let's say if I'm talking of calculator, so what all possible methods you can think of in a calculator? Calculator is basically, let's say, a very simple basic calculator. It can do all the 4 arithmetic operation: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So if at all somebody needs to use these features of calculator class, so what all he needs to do? He needs to create object of my class calculator. And if he is able to create object of my class, all he needs to do is he needs to call those methods. How do you call a method? Using object name. You'll say object dot add two numbers, object dot add subtract two numbers, or object dot multiply two numbers, or object dot divide two numbers. So if you are able to create object of any class, so how will you use that class? Using that object, you'll be able to call those methods of that class. I'll tell you what exactly, I'll show you in the code what I mean, but just understand that if I have written a calculator class, so if I say, okay, this is my delivery, can you use it? So how will you use that calculator? So basically you will try to create object of that calculator class. If you are able to create object of that class, then you can use all the methods that I have defined in my calculator class. Let us look into the code. And then, so now the next question is, can anyone create object of my class? No, I want that only few people, I want to impose some restrictions. Only few people should be able to create object of my class. So basically I don't want that the whole world should be able to see my class. So basically I want to restrict the visibility of my class. Who all can see my class? If I'm able to, so the way we specify visibility in Java is there is a concept of access specifier. Access is an English word, access card. Like you all go to office, you have an access card. So access specifier. So who all can see your class? So there are three access specifiers in Java. So those access specifiers are called public. Public means it's open to the whole world. Anybody can see your class. Then you have something called private. Then you have something called protected. And the fourth one is called default. I will explain you the meaning of all of them. But we have four access specifiers in Java: public, private, protected, and default. So what does public means? If you're okay, so before I go into that, if I say that my class is private, my class is private means what? My class is not visible to the outside world. So is there any utility of a class which is not visible to the outside world? Absolutely no. Basically you have an object, but no one else can see that object. So what is the point of having an object which no one can see? It is completely useless. So if a class is private, it is absolutely of no use, because we all are social animal, right? So human beings or every object, they need to talk to each other. So there is absolutely no point in having a class which is private. So class can only have two access specifiers in Java. Class will be either public or it will have a default access specifier. So default is the fourth one and public is the one. So what does public means? Public means it is visible to the whole world. When I say visible to the whole world, that means anybody can create object of this class. Let's say my class is, let's say there is a, I would say public, let's say we have a park here, right? So there are so many rides in the park. So that's a public ride. So anybody can go and take a ride in that. So that means it is accessible to everybody. There is absolutely no restrictions. But let's say if I have a ride in the backyards of my house, so that is only private. So no one else can use that ride. Only my kids can use that ride. That is called private. No one else can come out and come and use that ride. Only my kids can use that. So that is something called private, not visible to the outside world. So public means it is accessible for everyone. So we do not have any private class. Why we don't have private class? Because if your class is private, it is absolutely useless class. No one else can use that class. No one else will be able to create any object of that class. So your class will not be will be of no use. So your class can always be of public or default. We'll understand what exactly default means, but just bear with me and I will try to write a code. So the only access specifiers applicable for a class is public and default. Access specifiers means visibility. Who all can see your class? If I can see your class, that means I should be able to create object of your class. If I cannot see your class, that means I cannot create object of your class. So let's try to write the first program in Java and let us see how it looks like. So I'll say public and we have a keyword called class. When I say keyword means certain reserved words, which you have to say that, assume that it is always there. For example, if I say apple, so apple cannot have two meanings. Apple means always a fruit. If I say banana, so banana always means a fruit. So it's a keyword in English. Apple always means a fruit. Banana always means a fruit. It will never have two meanings. So you cannot use banana for anything else. So these are similarly in Java also there are certain keywords or reserved words which has a specific meaning. So we'll say public class and the name of my class is employee. So public class employee, and the syntax is I will write a curly brace and like this. And we have been saying that every class, a class is basically a specification, and employee, if I say object means, let's say Mohana is a employee, Mohana is a business analyst. So Mohana is an object of class employee. Naresh is a manual tester of class employee. So Naresh is the object, employee is the class. Let's say Nitya is also a manual tester. So Nitya is also an object and employee is the class. So employee is basically a specification. An object is a specific instance of the class. So employee, what all attributes we can think of employee? So let us say the first one is private. I said that you would like to keep certain data private. So by default, I would like to implement encapsulation. I would like to keep all my data private. I do not want that whole world should see my data. So I'll say private int employee ID. So private int employee ID. The next one is private int salary. Let's say the next one is private. There is a class in Java which you call as a string. Private string address. So I'll tell you what exactly string means. So we saw that there is a data type called char. I said that char, let's say char name is equal to, if you say char name is equal to, it can just store one character. So it will say, let's say M of Mohana. So you can store only one character. That is not sufficient for you. So you would like to store your full name. So there is a class in Java which can store a group of characters. So that class is called string class, right? So string class is basically, I would say, just employee is a class. So similarly, string is also a class. We'll talk in detail about how to use, but just understand, if at all we have to use this string class, the way to use is, if I say string address is equal to, let us say you stay in London. So I'll say string address is equal to double quotes and I'll say London. And I have to put a semicolon. Whenever any statement ends, I'll put a semicolon. So private int employee ID. So I will say employee ID is equal to, let's say 123. And let us say your salary is, after you get a Java contract, your salary will be 5,700 pounds per month after taxes. Okay. So this is your salary. Private int salary is equal to 5,700 pounds. Now these are attributes. So I said that any class will have attributes and will have some methods to act on those attributes. What do we do with those attributes? Basically, you have to read those attributes, or you will like to modify those attributes. So I'll say public, because these attributes are private. I have to give access to these attributes to the outside world. The only way to give access is we'll have to make some methods as public. So we'll say public. So public means it is accessible to the whole world, and every method returns something. So every method will have some return type. It will return, let's say if you're saying calculate rate of interest. So calculate rate of interest, what it will give you some number. So you have to store that number somewhere. So it will have some return type. So if I'm saying public int salary, so what is the return type? Salary is of type integer. So it's a public int and the name of the method. So name of either method I get. And if you see here, the salary is starting with small case. So the convention says that whenever you say write some getters or setters, you have to change the small case to capital case. So it will be get salary. And for methods, we use this brackets.
So is it only string that you put in double quote and nothing else?
Yes, only string will come in double quotes, nothing else. I'll show you the same in other Intellij as well. I'm basically the editor, but I'm just, for the simplicity purpose, I'm just telling you, just take this example. We'll go in detail with each and every example. But let's say this is the private int emp ID is equal to 123. So this int ID 123 means it is an integer type. String address is in double quotes. If character will be in single quotes. So now in public int get salary. So I said that what is the return type? This public is the access specifier, which means that who all can see that method. If it is public, anybody can see that method. The second way is return type. What this method is going to return. So this method is going to return a data of type integer. We are saying salary. What is the type of the data? It is a integer type. So let us say I say return salary, and I'll put a semicolon. So this is called definition of a method. This is how we define a method. access specifier, return type, name of the method, then parenthesis, curly braces starts, curly braces end. You can write 100 lines of statements, and whenever method ends, because the return type is int here, so you whatever you are returning, this you are returning an integer data type. Is it clear? So what is the return type here? You see the return type is int. So whatever I am returning, it has to be of the type integer. So what is the data type of salary? It is int type. So if you are saying that your method has to return some int, you can write salary, or you can write, let's say 6. Let's say you can write 5. What is 5? 5 is also an integer. So you can return anything which is an integer. But can you return, let's say return ABC? If you try to type like this, your compiler will give you an error. Why it will give an error? Because here you are specifying that your method is going to return an integer data type. But what are you trying to return? You are trying to return a string data type. So it is not allowed by the compiler. So whatever you're going to return from this method, it always have to be some integer type. So here in this case, we are saying the return type is salary. Is it clear? Okay, so we have written a method public int salary. Now I'll say public string. I'm saying now return type is string type, get address. And then I will try to return an address here, return address. So what is the return type here? String. So anything that I return has to be of string type. So I'm returning address. So what is the data type of address? String type. Public string get address. So this is access specifier. This is the return type. This is the name of the method. So I'm saying that, okay, I intend to return a string data type. So whatever there is a return is the keyword. I say return address. So what should be the type of this address? It has to be of the type string type. So address is having the data type string. Is it clear? Can I write here, let's say string address 123? We cannot, because if we try to do that, it will say change the return type from string to integer, because we have specified the data type as string. So whatever it returns, it has to be of the type string. So we have written our Java program like this. Your class is written. So class will have basically two things, attributes and methods to act on those attributes. Clear so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let us try to, I said that this class is public. So if class is public means this is visible to the whole world. Anybody can create object of this class. And if you're able to create object of this class, then using that object, you can call all the public members. You can call all the public methods using that object. So, okay, before that, let's try to understand one more thing. Let us say you have a television in your house, right? If you switch on the TV, if you switch on the power, what channel do you see on the TV? The moment you switch on the power, does it show?
What we were actually watching last time.
Oh, does it show the last time? Okay, in my case, I mean, it does not show anything. It just switches on the power. Unless until I switch on the remote and tell, okay, show me the channel number 101.
Okay.
It will not show me any channel. So unless until you put some channel on the remote, TV will simply open, but it will not show anything. So that means what is driving the TV? So TV is being driven by the remote. You have switched on the power of the TV, but unless until you press some channel on the TV, it is not going to show you on the screen. Let's say you press 101 channel, so it will show you 101 channel. Now next you say, no, I want to see channel 105. So you have to press 105. So the channel will change from 101 to 105. So your TV is being driven by the remote control. Now in Java, I have written so much of code. So from where exactly the program will start?
Library.
So will it start from here? Will it start from here, or will it start from here? It will start from the bottom. So there will be, you can say that there has to be a starting point. In every Java program, there has to be a starting point from where the program execution will start. Right? So as I said that you have switched on the TV, but Unless until you press some channel on the remote, TV will not show any channel. So similarly, you have written a very fantastic Java program, but your program will not give any output unless until you have some starting point, some triggering point. So you have to have the starting point. So that starting point is every Java program will have to have a particular method. Your compiler will look for a particular method as the starting point. So the name of that method is called main method. So if your class has a main method, from there the program execution will start. So whatever you write inside the main method, only that piece of code will be executed. In the main method, if you say go and execute line number 1, it will go and execute line number 1. In the main method, if you say go and execute line number 10, it will go and execute the line number 10. If you do not write anything inside the main method, it will see that, okay, I have a main method, but it is empty. So it will not do anything. Does it make sense? As I said that you have switched on the power of the TV, but because you have not switched on any button on the remote control, your program, because your TV will not show anything. So similarly in Java also, your program has to have a starting point, and the starting point is called the main method. And again, the access specifier is exactly the syntax is like this. We'll write public, and we have a keyword called static. I'll explain you what exactly static means, but for the time being, just bear with me. There is a concept called static. So static, and we have said we have seen two return types. One is int type, which is returning integer type. Here the return type is string. Let's say there might be a method where I don't want to return anything. If I don't want to return anything, then I'm saying to the compiler, okay, I do not want to return anything. Let's say I just want to display some message on the screen, but I do not want to return anything. If you are saying calculate home loan rate, so basically you are intending to calculate some home loan rate. Or if you are saying calculate average numbers, so you are trying to calculate the average of the numbers. So you are intending to return something, but let's say there might be a requirement where you do not want to return anything. You just want to say hello on the screen. So you're not intending to return anything. In that case, the return type, there is a keyword. When you want to say that I do not want to return anything, that keyword is called void. So I'll say public static void. I'll explain you what exactly static means. Public static void, the name of the method is main. And main method, it has to accept an argument type, which is string array. So basically, not sure if you know array. What does array means? Array means, I would say, a group of objects, similar type. Let us say if you have one employee, so you can have one object called employee emp1. If you have 3 employees, short organization, just 3 employees are there, employee emp2, employee emp3. But let us say if you're working in a big MNC has, let's say, 10,000 employees. So you're not going to create 10,000 objects, employee emp1, employee emp2, employee emp3 up to employee emp1000. So you will create some data type to store all the 10,000 employees. So that data type is called, if you're trying to store all the similar type of employees, because all you're trying to store is employee objects. So you will have clear a data type called array. So array is a data type which stores similar kind of objects. Let's say you have a bookshelf. So bookshelf, do you store onion and potato inside the bookshelf? No. भाई इस वाले खाने में आलू रख दिया, इस वाले खाने में प्याज रख दिया, जगह बच गई, थोड़ी सी किताब भी रख दी. You always try to store similar kind of items. So you'll, let's say, if you love Java, so you keep Java books. You love automation, you'll keep some automation books. So basically, you are trying to group similar kind of objects inside that bookshelf. You'll never store aloo, pyaj, and book, or maybe cloth also in that bookshelf. So you will store similar kind of data. So that data type is called array data type. So if you have an array of strings, so this is called string array. I mean, we will discuss what exactly array means, but you have to assume, you have to go with me that the syntax of main method is something like this: public static void main string array arguments, and then this is the curly brace start, curly brace end. So now if I try to compile this program, first of all, let's try to compile this program. So how will I save this program? File, save as, and I'm going to store this. Let us say I'll go in documents, and I'll say employee.java. Employee.java. So inside this path, this PC documents, I'm storing this employee.java, and I'm saving this. So I have stored this employee.java in a path. So let me go to the command prompt, cmd. I have not told you how to install Java on your system. But let's assume that you have installed Java on your system. Or maybe if you have time, you can Google it, how to install Java on YouTube, and you can install Java on your laptop. So here, if at all I need to see whether I have Java installed on my system or not, so I'll say Java minus version. If I see, what do you see? Java version is 1.8.0.161. That means I have Java installed on my laptop. Do I have a Java compiler or not? So I'll say Java C minus version. So it says Java C is 1.8.0.61. So I have executed two commands. One is Java minus version. Other one is Java C minus version. So Java C command is basically the compiler. If you want to compile some program, some .java file, when you compile it, what is the output? It is a .class file. Yesterday I told you that if you compile a Java program, it gets converted from .java to .class file. Okay. And what is this Java command for? Whenever we say Java, the class name, it will actually try to execute that byte code. So let us say, let's go back to the, okay, I assume that dir, sorry, how do we see the current directory? I forgot the DOS command. Okay, let's say, so Java C, so the syntax to compile the program is Java C and the name of the class, which is employee.java. So Java C employee.java. So this what this will do, this will compile this employee.java, which this is a human readable language, right? You all can read it. So this is a high level language. So if I say Java C employee.java, it will convert that .java file to .class file. So let us go and see employee.java whether it got converted to .class file or not. So we'll go to the same location, documents, sorry, not documents, Kundan, sorry,
It's in documents. It's in documents.
C users, sorry, let me see where did I save it. C save as this PC documents. Okay, that's fine. So it was in documents folder, documents. So can you see employee.java? Employee.java, what is the timestamp? 7:53. And we have executed the command. So there must be something like employee.class also created. So let's see employee.java, and where is employee.class?
Under timesheets.
Sorry, let's, okay. Why I don't see my employee.java, employee.class. Okay, let me see. Okay, yeah, here you see. What are the, no, sorry, this is, sorry, not this is one. Let me delete this. Okay, I'll delete this employee.class and let's execute this class again. So I'll say, okay, sorry, it's crap. So I'll say Java C employee.java. Sorry, I am at the wrong folder. Java C Sharma K3. Sorry, where is Sharma K3? C users Sharma K3. Okay, here it is. So date modified. Okay, fine. So you see here at 1949 we have created this employee.java, and you see employee.class. This got created. Let me delete it and show you again. So I delete it, and now I'll try to compile this program. So Java C employee.java, and you see here we have employee.class got created. What is the timestamp? 1957. It got created just now. So let's try to read it and verify how does it look like. Okay, can you read it? What is written? What is this line? First line?
See.
You can't read it. Who will read it? Machine language.
Okay.
Right? It's the byte code. You can't read it. So I told you that Java is a secured language. So the first 4 bytes is a magic number. If someone tries to modify this, and if you try, then compiler will actually, when you try to run the program, it will know that, okay, these first 4 bytes are, because these first 4 bytes are not present, that means it's a virus. If you try to modify this, compiler can, the JVM can detect that this byte code is actually somebody has deliberately manipulated this. So now this is the byte code, you will not, and you cannot read it. So it is the machine language and how to execute this byte code. So the way we execute this byte code, the command is Java and the name of the class employee. We do not use any extension. We don't say employee.class, just Java employee. So what do you see? Employee.java array index out of bound exception in thread main employee.java. So it is giving you some exception. So let us try to understand what that exception is. String array, public static void main string array. Okay, so we are not, okay, we are not, sorry, why it is giving me, let's see what exactly is this exception in thread main Java employee. Employee.java 20. Okay, I'm not able to see here. So I think I should actually try to copy this in an editor. So I'll go back and use some editor. Okay, so there are various editors available which will help you to write the Java code. So I will be using Intellij. Intellij is one editor. There is another editor called Eclipse. I'm sure you would have heard it. If not, then I'll tell you what exactly Eclipse is. So Intellij, it has so many I would say sophisticated features which you can use it. So the way I do is, I mean, let's say I'll create a new project, file, new, or for simplicity, let's say I already have a project, so I'll not go into detail. Let's say I click on new Java class, and I say this is employee dot, and this is a Java class. So we are selecting a class, and okay, this already exists. Okay, so then let's say I'll say not employee, I'll say new Java class called person. So I have a public class person. Oh God. So every class is, okay, let me get rid of all these classes. So sorry, I mean, I have already created so many classes. Let me delete this employee class. Okay, employee class is deleted. Let us say Java class, and we'll say employee class. So public class employee, I'll copy the code, whatever I have written from there. Now, so I have compiled that program using Java C. And how do I execute that program? Using Java and the class name. And we are getting some exception. We'll come back to this exception, but you should know how to compile a Java program. And the way to compile is Java C, the name of the class .java. And once you compile it, the .class file will be generated. And then how do we execute the program? Java -employee, the name of the class. So I have written the same program here. Now I want to, let's say if I try to run this program, what will happen? You'll see that there is a green icon. Can you see on the left hand side? There's a green icon. It says run employee.main, debug, and run employee.main with coverage. So if I simply click here, it is going to execute. And if I say run employee.main, so this program will, the moment I try to write a program in this Intellij editor, it will save it and it will by default compile it. I do not have to compile it. So I do not have to type the Java C employee.java. The moment I save it, the program gets compiled. So all I need to do is just, when I say run employee.main, basically I'm trying to execute the Java and the byte code, Java employee. So when I say run employee.main, that means if this program has already been compiled. So if there is some compilation error, so it will not even compile. For example, let's see how the compilation error looks like. So let us say if I'm returning address type here, let's say if I say return 123. So what is the return type here? String. And what I'm returning integer. So when I try to compile this program, compiler will check whether all the syntax is proper or not. So let's try to compile this program and see what is the output. So if I say Java C employee.java. So if I try to compile it, it'll give you an error saying that, sorry, Java C employee. There's something fishy going on. Just give me a minute. Java C save. I did not save it, sorry. Java C employee.java. So it's trying to, sorry, give me a minute. Something is seriously wrong. Return 1, 2, 3. String is address. Public string. Okay. This PC documents. Okay.
Return address, can it be a string, right? But we gave return 1, 2, 3. Is it not a problem?
No, it is a problem. 1, 2, 3 is what type?
It is an integer.
So you cannot return an integer type for a string.
So that's why is it getting, for get address, we have written 1, 2, 3.
Okay, you don't, okay. You're getting confused. Let me write
Okay, sorry.
1000.
Okay.
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 Doesn't matter. If I say Java C employee, oh, sorry, I'm going in the wrong direction. So I'm trying to compile it somewhere else. C user documents, dir. Sorry, let me copy the path so that it will be much easier. Where are the documents? Documents. So we have employee.java. I'll copy this path. This PC documents. Let me copy the path. So C users Sharma documents. Okay. I'll copy this path. So now I'll say Java C employee.java. So it should give me compilation error because I am trying to return an integer type, whereas I have specified that return type to be string type. Java C employee.java. You'll see that it gives an error. What does it say? It says incompatible types. Int cannot be converted to string and return 1000. Is it clear? So basically, it is trying to convert this integer into a string type. So that's why it's saying incompatible type. So how do I fix this? Let's say if I return some London, some string data type. If I try to compile it now, it will compile fine. There's no compilation error. So when we were trying to do some, when we did some mistake, compiler gave you an error. Clear? Okay. So when I try to write program, Mohana, do you have any question?
Yeah. So you've got string, which is characters in double quote. So if you put numbers in double quote, will it be considered as string, or will it still be integers and string?
It will absolutely be considered a string. If you put anything in double, if you put anything in double quotes, it will be considered as a string. So let us see that. If I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double quotes, then if you try to compile it, it will treat you as a string type. No compilation error. If you put anything in double quotes, that will be treated as a string. Okay. It's a very, very basic. I have not even taught anything, any sophisticated. I'm just trying to try to write a program, a simple hello world program. So whenever you write a program, compiler, when you have compiled it, assuming that there are no compilation error, when you try to execute it, Java will try to find out does the class has a main method or not. If the class has a main method, it will try to execute the main method. So what is written inside this main method? What is written inside this main method?
String. Right.
No, I mean, no, how many lines of code I have written inside the main method?
None.
I have not written anything. So if I try to run this program, will there be any output? The answer is no. So let us try to execute this program and verify it. If I try to execute this program and say run employee.main, you do not see any output. Let's say process finished with exit code 0. There is absolutely no output. But say I want to write something. So my first message is system.out.println. I'll explain what exactly, but assume that if at all you have to print something on the screen, this is the command, this is the line that you have to write, system.out.println. We'll go into the details as and when we understand more. But if you have to type something on the screen, the command that you have to use is system.out.println. I am learning automation. So if I try to execute this program, first of all, your JVM will see, does it have a main method? So answer, yes, it has a main method. So what is the first line inside the main method? First line is print I am learning automation. So it will print this method on the console, and the output will be the message on the console, I am learning automation. So you see the output is I am learning automation. But after that, although you have written so many things, you wrote that emp ID, salary, address, get address, nothing got executed. Whatever you write inside the main method, only that got executed and the program ended here. Now, how do I execute the other code? How do I create object in Java? So the syntax to create object in Java is the name of the class. So what is the name of the class here? Name of the class is employee. And the name of the object. So what is the name of the object? The name of the object, let's say I call it as a EMP. EMP obj is equal to, and there is a keyword in Java which we use. That keyword is used to create object. That keyword is called new, and the name of the class. Parenthesis, semicolon, end. So this is how you create object in Java. So name of the class, name of the object is equal to the keyword new, and again followed by name of the class. So this will create an object. Now let us try to understand diagrammatically, when I execute this line, what happens? What happens when I try to execute employee emp obj is equal to new employee? What is actually happening behind the scenes? So I told you yesterday that there is something called garbage collector in Java. So in Java, if you have to run your Java program, it will need certain amount of memory. So your system will have a RAM. In Java, that entire RAM is divided into several segments. We have different types of memory in Java. So let us try to understand what those memories are. So in Java, your RAM is basically divided into different types of memory. Basically, the same area of memory is allocated, and we categorize those memory. One memory is called heap. This memory is called heap memory, and we have something called stack memory. So we have two types of mainly two types of memory. We'll talk about other types of memory, but assume that we have two types of memory, heap and stack. So whenever I say employee obj is equal to new employee, so what happens behind the scenes? So this employee obj, how many attributes has? Emp ID and salary. This employee object has, this class has how many attributes? Emp ID and salary. So whenever I say employee emp obj is equal to new employee, what does it do? It actually creates one object on heap. This is called obj, and this obj, sorry, this employee, this is the object, and this obj is actually the address of this. This obj is the reference. So this is actually pointing to an address where this object is created. So let's say this gets created at some address location 1234x. 1234x is the address where this object gets created. Let's say if I have to send some letter to you, where do I send the letter? I need to have address of a house, right? So address is, let's say you stay in 23, let's say 10 Downing Street. Let's say you stay there. So that's the address. So similarly, every object that gets created on heap, it will have an address. So this obj is basically the address where that object gets created. So there will be an object called obj, and this obj will have the two attributes. What are those two attributes? Will have ID and salary. ID and salary. Is it clear? Let's say now I create one more object called employee obj 2 is equal to new employee. So now this obj2 is what? Another object will be created on heap, and this will also have its own ID and salary. So this, let's say this got created at 5678x. So 5678x is what? Address of second object. Is it clear? So we have created two objects on heap. How many objects we can create on heap? Can we keep on creating objects on heap? Is there any limitation? So do we have infinite? Because whenever we create objects, so I said that what is the data type of employee ID? Integer type. What is the data type of salary? Integer type. So to store an integer, how many bytes of memory is required? 4 bytes of memory is required. Integer data type is 4 bytes. So if I create one object here, obj1, how many attributes it has? One attribute ID, one attribute salary. So both are integer type. So that means how many bytes of memory will be required for obj1? 8 bytes. 4 plus 4, 8 bytes. If I create another object, how many bytes of memory will be required? 8 bytes. So every time I am creating an object, in this case, because there are two attributes, emp ID and salary, both are integer type. So if every time I create an object, it will actually need 8 bytes of memory. So on the heap, 8 bytes of memory will be reserved for object 1. If you create another object, another 8 bytes of memory will be allocated for object 2. So if you keep creating object, every time you create object, some memory will be allocated for that object. So it means that because you do not have infinite amount of memory, at some point of time, if you keep creating object, you will run out of memory. And if you run out of memory, you will get out of memory error. Because heap has a finite amount of memory. Because let's say your system has a 16 gigs RAM. So 16 gig RAM, you cannot, let's say all the entire 16 gig RAM is occupied. After that, what will happen? Your program will run out of memory. So if your object is not being used anymore, so there is a component in Java which we discussed yesterday, which is called garbage collector. If something is not being used, garbage collector will actually clean that garbage. It will remove those objects and that memory will be available for use. Just like if you create so many folders in your laptop, you keep taking backups. After a time, you realize that you're running short of memory. So what do? You try to remove those unused objects. Okay, I'm not using this folder, so you'll remove those. So in that case, the role of garbage collector is performed by you only. You are performing that these are unused folders. Okay, let me remove it so that I get some free space. So similarly, garbage collector, when you run out of memory, garbage collector will realize that your program is running out of memory. So it will go and try to read the heap. What all objects are not being used. If some objects are not being used, it will free that memory. It will release those memory. Make sense? So every time we create an object, basically that object gets created on heap. And because I said that every object will have some instance members, some attributes, that attributes will be of, let's say, integer type, short type, byte type, float type, long type. So depending on the data type that you have, it will need certain amount of memory. Clear so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's try to understand. When I say employee emp is equal to new employee, what happens? So I have created one object. So now this employee object, I mean, if at all I need to, let us say I'm saying here, if I have to print something, I use this word system.out.println, right? So now if I have to print here, I want to call this address. So I say system.out.println London. I stay in London. And let's say if I type one message here, I am an excellent automation tester, right? And my salary is £8,000. That's a message. Now I have created an object called employee obj. So one thing here is what I have not told you. Every object will have the same attributes and it will have a copy of those methods. So what all methods are there? We have two methods. One is get ID and get salary. Similarly, this object will have copy of get ID and get salary. So every object will have copy of all the attributes. So there are some words that I'll be using. Sometimes I'll use the word instance, object. They all mean the same. So in a class, you have instance members. So these are called instance members. Attributes and methods, they are also called instance members. Every object will have some attributes and some methods. So attributes and methods, every object will have a copy of those attributes and methods. here in this example, I created employee obj, and it will have a copy of ID, salary, get salary. If I create another object, it will also have a copy of ID, salary, get salary. So every time I create an object, it will have a, basically what is an object? Object is a specific instance or specific example of that class. So basically it represents the whole class. So every object will have those attributes and method names. So here I said obj1. So obj1 will also have ID, salary, and methods. So here I'll say get ID, get salary. So if I try to, that means if I'm trying to say employee obj is equal to a new employee. Now, if I have to access any method, how do I access method? I'll say emp obj, because I'm trying to call a method which belongs to this object. So employee obj dot, I want to call get address method, because this object will have a copy of salary, address, emp ID. So I want to call the method. So I'll say employee obj dot get address. If I try to execute this program like this, it will see that, okay, my intention is to call this get address method of this particular object. Is it clear, Naresh?
Yes, yeah.
So now if I try to execute this program, what it will do, it will, first of all, it will print this message. Then employee obj is equal to new employee. It will create an object on the heap, and the name of the object is emp obj. And every object will have a copy of all the instance members. Attributes and methods, they are also called instance members. So it will have a copy of get ID and get salary. So here you see that this is get ID and get salary. Now I am saying this object dot get salary. So it will go and call this method. So what is there inside the get address method? If I go and see, it says that I stay in London. So this message will be printed on the console. So now if I try to execute this program, employee obj dot get, get address. So by mistake, I typed B. So if I try to execute this program, what should be the output? You should say, I am learning automation, and then you will see I stay in London. I am learning automation and I stay in London. Is it clear? Clear to all of you?
Mm-hmm.
So now, let's say now I want to execute the method emp obj dot get salary. So we are creating emp obj, and now I'm trying to call get salary method of which object? Emp object that I created on heap. This object will have a copy of get ID, get salary. So I'll say call the get salary method of which object? The object that I have created here. So emp object. So if I try to execute this program, it will go and call this get salary method, and you will get this wonderful message. Right. So let us try to execute this program. I can execute this program from here as well. And on the top, you see employee. If I click here, then also it will execute the same program. And you see I am learning automation. I stay in London, and I am an excellent automation tester, and my salary is £8,000. Happy? So now we understand how the program flows. Is it clear or not? It's very important. I'm just trying to go very, very slow. If it is something is not clear, maybe you can ask me, I can repeat. So I have written a program. We have some instance members. I have deliberately kept those instance members as public, as private, so that it cannot be accessed from outside. So whenever I say public, means I should be able to create object of a class. How do I create object of a class? The syntax to create object of a class is class name followed by object name is equal to the keyword new, class name, and then parenthesis. So this is how I create object. When I write this line, what happens behind the scenes? An object gets created on the heap. There are two types of memory, heap and stack. I have not spoken so far about stack, but we will talk about that later. But just assume that there are two types of memory. So an object gets created on heap. So emp obj is the reference variable, or I would say reference means using this you can refer to that object. So it is the emp obj is the reference variable which is having the address of the object that gets created on the heap. And every object that gets created on the heap, it is basically representing the whole class. So therefore it will have a copy of all the instance members. What are instance members? The attributes and methods, they are called instance members. In this case, ID, salary, address, they are all instance members. And the methods that you see, get salary, get address, they are all instance methods. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So how does the program starts? Your program must have this main method, and it has to have a signature of like this, public static void main string. If you do not have this method, you'll get error like this, main method not found, which we were seeing earlier. Java C employee.java, this will work fine, employee.java. And I say Java employee. Sorry, I have not written anything, so that's why you don't see. So this is written in a different place. So I hope this is clear. So we have understood how to write a Java program. So every object will have a copy of all the instance members. Is it clear?
Yeah.
How the program starts, it always starts from the main method. So whatever you write inside the main method, that will be executed. So after emp obj.getSalary, you have not written anything. So the code executes there and it ends. So that means, let's say if you have written one method called public void display. Hi, display. I have written this method, but if I try to execute this program, will you see this method hi display? Mohana, Naresh, I have written this program. So if I try to execute this program, will I see this hi display method in the output?
No.
Why will we not see this method in the output?
We use void.
We didn't call in the main program.
No, we are not actually calling that program. You can write 100 methods here, but what gets executed?
Only in the main
The
program.
one that you have written in the main method, right? So in main method, what are we calling? We are just calling get address method and get salary method. We are not calling this a display method. So if you are not calling it, it won't be executed. Let's say you have a Bollywood movies channel on your remote. If you are not pressing it, will it display the Bollywood movies? No. So whatever channel you press, only that channel will be displayed. So in the main method, this is assume that this is the remote control. So whatever you are writing inside this main method, only that will be executed. So although you have written this display method, but because you are not calling it, it won't be executed, it won't be called. So let us try to execute and verify this. So if I try to run this program, you do not see that hi display. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Naresh.
Yes, sir.
So let's say if I want to execute this program, so what do I need to do? So whenever I say employee obj is equal to new employee, employee obj, emp obj is equal to new employee, it will create an object on heap. Every object will have a copy of all the instance members. So now how many instance members are there in the class? Let us verify. How many instance members are there in the class? Emp ID, it is an instance member. Salary is an instance member. Get salary is an instance member. Display is also an instance member. Get address is also an instance member. So these are all instance members. That means whenever I create object will have copy of all these methods. So if at all I need to call this instance member, how do I call it? So what do I need to do? So I need to say
Emp object
emp obj
dot display.
emp obj dot get display.
Sorry, give me a minute, please.
It's fine.
So even if you so even if you call something that is private, like I think you've got salary as private, you won't be able to retrieve it.
Sorry, private means because we are within the same class. Let's say you are Mohana, you want to access Mohana's details. So will you be able to access it or not? You should be able to access it. But let's say if your neighbor auntie is trying to access Mohana, what is the salary? Would you like her to see your salary? No. So your neighbor cannot see your salary. Okay, so Naresh, what I said that if at all I want to call this display method, how do I call it? Because it is an instance method. So whenever I create an object, so object will have a copy of this display method as well along with the other methods.
Okay.
So how do I call this method? I say emp obj dot display. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Now Mohana asked a very good question that we are calling this get salary method, but get salary method, we said that this is salary is private. I have been telling that if some data member is private, then you should not be able to access it. But then we are trying to access salary in which class? Employee class. So if you are within the same class, you can access the private member, because let's say if you are staying in a house, so any member who is staying within the house, he will have access to all the information of your confidential information. Let's say you're staying with your parents, so parents will know everything about you. So because you are within the same class, so you can access private members within the same class. But let's say if your neighbor is trying to know your salary, he cannot access your salary. If you try to access this attribute salary from outside this class, you will not be able to access this salary. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Let's try to understand when I say what do I mean by you cannot access this salary. So you see here, if I type here emp obj dot, if I type emp obj dot, what do you see? In the drop down you see some methods: display method, get salary method, get address method. You see salary, address, emp id. So what is salary, address, emp id, display, get salary, get, these are all instance members. So whenever you create object dot, you see all the instance members that you are allowed to access. So salary is a private data, address is a private data, emp id is a private data, but still you are able to, when you see put the dot, you see all these members. That means because you are within the same class, you can access the instance members. Even though it is private, it does not matter, because you are trying to access it within the same class. Is it clear?
So now if you create a different class, for example,
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. All your questions will be answered. So first, you understood this, right? So now let us say I have a very curious neighbor who always wants to poke into my personal life. So I'll create one class. Let's say new Java class. I call it as neighbor. Let's say neighbor 1. Now, if at all I need to execute this program, what do I need to have in this program? I need to have a main method, because if neighbor class has to execute, it has to have a main method. So I'll say the main method, the signature has to be like this. You can write, this is a variable name. You can type anything. In the last example, I used the word A. You can write anything. Let's say K here. That does not matter. This is a variable name. Now what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to access data of which class? Employee class. How do I access data of employee class? I should be able to create object of that employee class. If I'm able to create object of the employee class, I can call all the members which are public on that particular object. So if how do I create object of employee class? I'll say the way to create object is employee.
Object.
Let's say O1 is equal to new employee. So now I have created object of employee class. Clear so far? So now if I say that O1 is what? O1 is object of employee class. So if I say O1 dot, so what do I say here? I see display method, get salary method, get address method. Do I see the salary member?
No.
I do not see the salary. Why I don't see salary? Because salary is a data and it is private. So now we are trying to access a private member of another class from, let's say you are trying to access private member of class A from class B. So what will you do in class B? You will first of all create object of class A, and object dot, you will try to call some method. So what all methods you can call? You can call display method, get salary method, get address method. Why are you able to call this method? Because these methods are public in nature. So what is this? If I say display, what is the specifier? It is public. Let us say if I make this method as private, then see what happens. Sorry, I make this method as private. So I am calling this emp obj dot display. this in the employee class, I am still calling this display method because this is private, and because I'm in the same class, I will be able to access this display method, and they should print high display. If I try to execute this program, it will print display method as well. So let us see what is the output. Okay, I'll comment this out and execute the employee.java. So let me execute this program, and you'll see the method high display. Can you see this message high display? Naresh, is it clear to you?
Yes, yeah.
Now I'll try to access this display method from the other class, or let's say I make this salary as well private. Let me go and make this method as private. So when I try to execute this, I'm still able to access the salary method. The same message gets printed. I'm able to see the display method as well. I am learning automation. I stay in London. I am an excellent automation tester, and my salary is 8,000 pounds and high display. So basically I have changed the access specifier of two methods. I made this from public to private, and for get salary also I made it from public to private, and I'm trying to access these two methods within the same employee class. Now let us try to access these methods from this neighbor class. How do you access any method? If at all you want to access some methods of employee class, you have to create object of that class. So I have created object. Now I'm trying to access methods of this object. So I'll say O1 dot. What do you see? Which method? Get address. Do you see get salary? Do you see display? You don't see. Why do you don't see? Because those methods are private. So if you make some method as private, it won't be visible in the outside class. But as I said that in order to expose some data to the outside world, you keep your data as private and you expose them using some public method. So because I changed the display access specifier of display from public to private, you're not able to see those methods. Because I changed the access specifier of get salary from public to private, I am not able to access these methods. Now let us go back and change that method. If I make it public and I make this method also as public. So if I try to access now, O1 dot, now you see get salary and get address both are visible. So now if I say get salary and if I try to execute this program, let us see what is the output. I'm an excellent automation tester and my salary is 8,000 pounds. A very nice message, right? So we know that if at all we have to access any method, let's say if I'm the developer, I am developing some software. So I have to write a class, and those class will have some methods. If at all somebody needs to use that my software, what it needs to do, he should be able to create object of my class. If he is able to create object of my class, using that object he can call all the public methods, right? Here you created object of employee class, and using that object you can access all the public methods. You cannot access private methods. Is this point clear or not?
Yeah.
So what we have done, we have implemented proper encapsulation in employee class. How did we implement encapsulation? We kept the instance members as private. Basically the instance variables. These are also called variables. Emp ID, salary, these are variables because it can change. Variable means anything whose value can change. Let's say emp ID is 1, 2, 3. Tomorrow you can have 4, 5, 6. Salary is 5,700. Let's say if you study Java, your salary will increase to 6,500. So it's a variable, right? So variable means whose value. So these are also called instance variable. So using object, you can call all the public methods or public instance members. Let's say if let's do this from private. I'll say let's make it public. I'll make my salary as public. So you can access this salary within the same class. And let's say now because you have made it public, so let us say O1 dot. If I say O1 dot, what do you see? Do you see the salary is also visible here? Can you see this one, salary? So because I changed the access specifier of the data from private to public, so anybody can access my salary. Let's say if I don't like you, so I'll be able to access that salary as obj.salary, and I will change it to, let's say, minus 600. I don't like you. So I'll change your salary to minus 600. So that means I'm introducing a bug. This is not a desirable situation. You do not want that anybody should be able to get access to your data. So how do you prevent that data? Basically, you will keep your data as always as private. And how will you try to access it? You will always give access using get salary method. So what will you do inside get salary method? Let's say you will write some pseudocode, some logic. If role is HR, then only allow to access salary. You'll write some logic here to grant access. If role is HR, then only allow access salary, otherwise get lost. This is how you are actually implementing encapsulation. You are hiding your data. Clear? We have not understood anything, any rocket science. What we have covered today is basically different data types in Java. So there are 8 data types: byte, short, int, char, float, double, long, boolean. We have also, I told you the size. Why do we have float and boolean? Then I said, in Java, we try to write the first program. We said we have a concept of access specifiers: public, private, protected, default. We cannot have private class. For class, we have just 2 access specifiers: public and default. I have not covered what is default. I'll cover that in the later class. Then we try to write some program. For a Java program to execute, the compiler always tries to find out the main method, and the main method has to be always like this: public static void main string. I have not told you what exactly static means, but I told you the return type. Return type, it can be int, string, integer, void, anything you can return. Then I said, how do you create object in class? Whenever you try to create object, what happens? An object gets created on heap. So this is called reference variable emp obj. And whenever you create any object basically object represents your class. So whatever is there in the class, object will have a copy of all the instance members. It will have the copy of attributes as well as methods. So now if I'm saying emp obj.get address, it will go and try to call get address method of this particular object. If I say emp obj.get salary, it will call the get salary method of this particular object. You might have written 100 methods in your program, but if you are not calling that method from the main method, that will never be executed. Clear? Then we also saw that what is encapsulation. If you have some instance members as private, then that will be visible only within the same class. But if you try to access those members from outside the class, you will not be able to access those members from outside the class. And I also told you that if you make your data as public, so then if you make the salary as public, then your salary can be accessed using 2 ways. Employee obj.salary, you can access it, or employee obj.get salary. So basically you have 2 loopholes to access your data. So you will have to worry about, let's say you have a very complex program and emp obj.get salary is equal to, let's say, minus 600. I'll go and change the salary to public. So your software will start behaving in an absurd manner. You don't know, let's say you have hundreds of classes in your application. So basically in one class you are setting it to minus 600, in another class you are setting it to 800. That way you will have different values. So your software will have a bug. So you will not be able to track out where exactly this value is getting changed. But if you know that there is only way to access that method is access that variable is method, so then you can always go and try to look into that method. Okay, what has gone wrong? Is my logic of accessing privilege to the user has gone wrong? Is my logic faulty? So you have to look at only one place, right? So by having encapsulation, your code is bug free. It is easy to maintain. You can track defects, where exactly what has gone wrong. Okay, clear so far? So I have some guests coming, so I think we'll have to stop here. So in case you all are available, then we might have a class tomorrow in the second half post lunch around 3 p.m.
Yeah, fine.
I'll again expect you to go through this and try to write some program on your own.
Okay. Yeah.
And I would say before that, I'm sure you might not be having Java installed. So it will be good if you can install Java on your laptop. Install Java and try to see whether when you type Java minus version, are you able to see the Java version or not. If you're able